It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
I was like, I want to say yeah, but wait.
Do it. You know what? I feel like
mad.
I got a lot of shit for making fun of you for that. Now I'm sorry to
Oh, did
all
you?
our listeners. I did.
Oh,
People
wow.
were like, "How dare you pick on Bryce?"
Woo, love that.
All right.
You know what? Love your
You big bully.
Bryce,
What?
love your podcast, love yourself.
Hey, amen.
Hey, it's year 3 of Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness.
That's crazy.
I am your host, Michael McMillan, back for year 3. Now I feel like we're really in year 3 because you weren't here last week. We missed
Back
you
for
so
year
much.
3. I was here all of year 2.
I know. No, I said last week.
Oh, right.
All right, see, this is why I start getting on you, and then people pick on me. It's your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and with us always is super producer.
Riley Bray.
And guys, I say it every time. Let's just jump right in. We have an amazing guest for you this week.
Yes.
He's a comedian. He's an actor. He was on one of my favorite shows, Children's Hospital and Kroll's show. He's from UCB, and currently you can hear him on Big Mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the clubhouse, Mr. Seth Morris.
Hey, thanks for
What's
having me,
up,
guys.
dude?
yeah, thanks for being here.
I was saying this before we started rolling, but you've been on so many things that I was like, I could talk for 20 minutes about all the amazing shit you've been on.
Oh, nice. Well, that'll be a separate podcast.
That's true.
Called How Do You
Yeah.
Do It?
Yeah.
Seth Morris, teach me how to live in this town.
Oh, hand to mouth, baby.
Well then,
Good. We're
doing
it right.
everything
Yeah.
correctly.
Check.
I'm glad you got here.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, it's in the middle of the apocalypse.
Yep.
LA, once again, here we are in the fall. It's on fire.
Fire and
It's
brimstone.
so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you got here okay. You're safe from all the fires.
Safe from all the fires. Traffic was heavy, but nobody, people weren't outwardly freaking out.
Yes.
I
did I mention this last week about how I recently saw a car accident happen, like 2 cars in front of me?
Oh, no.
It was real crunchy.
Oh.
It really feels like the apocalypse is happening right now.
I saw one yesterday coming back from the airport.
It's been nuts,
Yeah.
dude. What is it? People say as it's the Scorpio moon.
yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
about
And
this.
we're in the middle of Mercury in retrograde again.
I've been asshole driving. I'm guilty, man.
What do you mean by asshole driving?
I just I was coming home late. I wanted to get home so I could grab my new puppy from a friend, and she was like, I go to bed at 10.
Gotta get home to that puppy.
And I'm like, so I get on the 405 and I get like 300 feet behind the construction crew that's laying out cones. And then, so you're just like following the slow traffic as they slowly cut off like 3 lanes.
Oh,
And you're
yeah,
just like, you're just like, fuck!
Yeah.
If I was like 1 minute in advance, I would have just been doing 85 down the road. But
Getting new puppy from a friend sounds like a euphemism for something, but I'm going to assume that you're actually getting a puppy.
Have we talked about this on the show? I can't remember.
No,
Have we
I don't
announced
think
that
so.
you
Yeah.
finally adopted a puppy?
yeah, we got a dog. I'm pretty stoked about
boy,
it.
oh boy, have I
Yeah.
seen photos and am I ever in love?
Yeah, she's cute, man. She's a little French bulldog.
Oh,
Her name's
cute.
Baby. Yeah.
Oh, man, I went to the Silver Lake Dog Park dog costume pageant
Oh, really?
yesterday. Oh, it's fucking awesome.
Were you standing behind a row of hedges with a pair of binoculars?
Well, no, I got there late. I took my son, and we were like looking
fun.
over people, but it was really funny.
Do you have a dog where you just like,
I do
this
have
is
a dog,
good way
but the
to
dog-
entertain the baby?
But it was to entertain the baby. I have a dog, which she would have been too much of a spaz to go to this, probably.
Yeah.
But,
You can't handle this dog.
I'm so about. I fully believe that having a dog prepped me for having a kid in many ways, and one of those is I like to dress up my dog, and I think it prepped me for like I want another cute thing to like
Yes.
dress up.
Oh, yeah.
I was about
absolutely.
to say, Bryce, you did it in reverse.
Yeah, kids
You
first,
had the kids
puppy later.
first,
Oh,
puppy
yeah.
later. Now, how do you feel now that you have an animal that
It's cool. It's a lot more responsibility, but like, fuck it. It's I feel it's like the same principle as like getting up at like 5 a.m. is the same as getting up at 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. It's just all fucking early. So
It'll change. It's a puppy.
All the same.
Yeah, puppies are a crazy amount of work, though.
Yeah, they really are.
It's more than you would think.
Now, do you respect me more knowing that I've been a father of 2 dogs for all these years?
No.
Seth, you were just saying before we started the show that you saw Willow Creek recently.
Yeah.
And recognized Bryce from it.
So good. I love that.
awesome.
Isn't it a great movie?
Yeah, because I love Bobcat. I think I've seen all. The only one I haven't seen is the very first one, where the lady sucks a dog's dick.
Yeah, I was in that one.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to see it.
Is that why you decided you want to get a dog, Bryce?
That's exactly why.
Where can I see that? Actually, that stream in regular places.
I don't know. I guess you could maybe on probably Amazon or something.
Which one
like
is that?
It's called Sleeping Dogs Lie, and I always, badly so, I call it the dog blowjob movie. But it's so much. It's so much more than that. It's like, it's sort of his first writing and directorial debut, and it's like, it's a sweet movie about. I know that's crazy to say, but about the secrets that we should or shouldn't tell to our loved ones, and if we do, what are those consequences? And maybe things are just sometimes better left unsaid.
Right.
You know, and I kind of live my life like that, or at least in my relationship. No, I'm serious. I've never, this is probably very personal, but I've never asked my wife, and after like almost, 17 years of marriage, what her past sexual history is. I never wanted to know.
Yeah. Doesn't matter, right? At this point.
I don't need to know it.
Listen, on this show, we want to know all about your personal paranormal history, but your personal sexual history, listen, let me live it, live and let die, right? Isn't that the way?
Let me live it.
Live and let die. Let's take advice from James Bond on this one. Don't bring it up.
I understand you've worked with Bobcat then.
I have. I've worked with him on, I think on at least one or two Marin shows.
Oh, great! Yes,
yeah.
awesome.
And then he was also. I used to do a show at UC, like a talk show at UCB, and he was a guest on that. And I've just always thought he was I loved him when he was the Bobcat that people probably think of. And then I started reading interviews about him, and I love his career.
Yeah, I think the world of the guy.
I don't have the courage to do this yet, but I've heard him a couple times say, like, I just kept quitting things until I landed on the thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he said the best thing he ever did was quit acting.
Yeah,
and that gave him all of his opportunities. You know, he was just, and I've often thought about that.
Yeah,
too. Like, maybe the best fucking
Guess
thing
what,
I could do
Bryce?
right now.
You and I are both well on our way to quitting acting.
Unbelievable.
Bryce, it's great to have you back.
Thanks, man.
We missed you last week, and of course, this is all on the heels of we've not been able to talk about it on a regular episode. We're now 3 weeks out of the announcement, but you have a Bigfoot show coming out that you are hosting. We haven't talked about it on an actual episode yet.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
We just had our secret drop.
When does this drop?
This is dropping in the middle of November, my friend.
Okay, good.
So, towards the end, we're coming up on Thanksgiving.
That's
been
crazy.
Almost
My head's
a month.
spinning because they kept moving the date back, pushing it further, and I didn't know when to announce or when I could say something about it. But it's nice that the cat's out of the proverbial bag.
Yeah, by the time this is out, we've already got I'm talking about I'm a part of this enterprise.
You are. You absolutely are.
I'm just riding those coattails, baby.
Amen.
December, correct?
Yeah, December 4th is the air date of our first episode.
Because it was November 27th.
Yeah,
and
that
now
got
it's changed.
moved.
Okay, cool.
Which is great. It was going to air right around Thanksgiving. I'm hosting a Bigfoot show on the Travel Channel called Expedition Bigfoot. Where
nice.
Me and a team of scientists and researchers go exploring the woods of Oregon and looking for evidence of Bigfoot.
That's so cool.
It was a total blast. It was so much fun, and it was really lucrative as far as evidence-wise.
And if you,
really?
Yeah, it was incredible.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, so we started to talk before you rolled that Willow Creek is what sort of had something to do with starting this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Were you a believer already and then got Willow Creek?
Yeah,
you already were, or vice versa. It made you.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I was always sort of into the paranormal, and Bigfoot was at sort of the head of the table of that. And when Bobcat called, I don't think he had any idea of my interest in the subject. And, and it was really just sort of kismet. He was called, and I was like, absolutely. I mean, you got the right guy.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect.
Had
blending.
he heard you ever talk about this stuff on set?
I don't think so.
Because I mean,
think
obviously
so.
on paper you were perfect for that part.
Yeah, it
but
was totally random. It was totally
because
random.
Seth, I watched the film on like Netflix or streaming or whatever. And, half the movie is obviously found footage horror kind of stuff.
Right.
But there's a huge chunk of the movie where you're actually interviewing people in Willow Creek about the subject of Sasquatch.
Absolutely.
And I was like, fuck this. Bryce knows what he's talking about.
And a lot of that was my own research. I mean, I did my own research. And I mean, it was really only about 12 pages of script. And the rest, he was just like, he was going to be, it was improv and stuff like that. He gave us so much of the apples of what to say, but but at the end of the day, it only behooved me to know or just be as passionate as I was about the subject. So it was a perfect blending. And Alexi, who played my girlfriend, she was the perfect skeptic because she's like, she didn't really believe. So it was a great coupling.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear about what Seth Morris does or doesn't believe, but before we get to that, Bryce,
what
did you bring in some?
Basic news.
Now it's just an embarrassment when we do it.
It is. I really get. I get embarrassed with it.
That's why we can never stop.
I brought in 3 pieces, and maybe I should have Seth pick the one. But,
Jesus Christ!
But
let's do it.
you know
this
what?
will all be old news by the time this airs. But fuck it.
Well, maybe I'll just pick the one, and I think I shared this with you because if you're somewhat of a skeptic, this one comes with a great video.
Oh, good.
And I would love to post the link on this. So let's do this one. Mysterious Universe reported on Twitter about a haunted ventriloquist dummy.
Oh,
God,
you
yeah,
sent this to
Yes.
Riley me, and I
Messed up.
forgot to watch this video.
Oh my God! So I had to. I immediately clicked on the post because I love seeing like ghosty videos or quote unquote.
Do you want me to pull it up on the old laptop?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I have it on my phone. I'd be able to. I'll just start reading here. But the mysteriousuniverse.org reports creepy World War II ventriloquist doll blinks on its own in frightening video. Not only that, but it opens the cage that it's in too.
What?
Yeah.
Why is it kept in a cage in the first place?
We're asking the right questions.
It's a glass box.
Oh, okay.
It's a glass box.
So it's in an aquarium?
I know, right? I should have said cage, but
Now
they report if owning antique ventriloquist doll isn't creepy enough, imagine capturing eerie footage of its mouth and eyes moving on their own. Well, that's exactly what happened when 48-year-old Michael Diamond set up a video camera to tape his creepy-looking doll.
Mike Diamond, huh?
Yeah, Diamond noticed on several occasions that the glass door kept opening up on the cabinet where the doll was being kept. So he set up a camera facing the cabinet during the nights of September 19th and 20th and captured something both surprising and frightening. The CCTV footage showed the door opening, but that's not all. The doll's eyes, which were shut tightly, opened up in addition to its lips separating as if it was trying to speak. After viewing the footage, Diamond admitted that he was pretty spooked, saying he's got a weird feeling in his gut. Although he's not afraid of the doll, he is wary of it and keeps it locked in a glass cabinet in his freak room, quote unquote, which contains several unusual items such as skulls, ancient weapons, and taxidermy animals. As for why the door to the locked case kept opening up, it remains a mystery. I have no idea.
Sounds like
myself.
he's, I don't want to say
Diamond
this phrase,
said.
but asking for it.
Yeah,
It really does. If you have a place called the Freak Room,
Totally.
Yeah.
you're inviting trouble. Now, here's the problem I had with the link, Bryce, because where's the video?
Well, you got to
gotta
jump.
find
You
it.
got
It's
to
in
jump
there.
to a local news organization. It's kind of tricky.
That's why I didn't.
But I'm going to play it here for Seth.
Where's the
It's in
one?
England?
No,
Or no, it's just
that's a good question. Okay, yeah. Okay, here it goes. I've got the video here. So, all right, skip.
here.
God, skipping 10.
Oh, no.
It's okay.
Don't you hate those? Okay, we'll be patient.
Oh, yeah, this is from the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Look who's
So
talking.
reputable.
All right, I'm going to pass you my phone because it's funner to
Oh,
look
I
at
don't
that
like
way.
this at all.
All right.
All right, we're all watching the video.
So,
All right.
super creepy black and white nighttime camera.
Is it playing?
I think so.
Okay.
Seth, narrate it if you can.
Okay, it's just it's a disembodied head. It's not attached to the dummy. It's just a head in a glass thing. I don't know if it is playing.
You gotta wait
here
a
we go.
minute for the ghost action.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so it's in the little case. Oh, you can hear it now.
Okay, it's playing.
Just there. Oh, I think the eyes just blinked.
Oh my God, its eyes are white.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's fucked up.
Whoa!
Ooh.
There's an orb in this video too.
Yeah,
That's what I said in the text thread.
The eyes are the creepy thing. Ooh.
Oh,
See the
Fuck.
mouth.
Oh, and the mouth moves. Yeah.
So many orbs.
See, I love that. Here's how I'm a skeptic. I'm sure there's a rational explanation, but it's worth it for me to I don't want to know too much.
Yeah.
I like the thrill of seeing this creepy thing. I just, in my bones, I'm like, oh, there's some sort of, it's on a tilt or whatever. But I like being.
This. Whoa, I don't like that at all.
It has a
creeped
vibe to it, though.
For sure.
You know, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
I would say
It's definitely creepy.
Yeah.
I actually get the impression, and maybe this is, maybe you guys will all disagree with me. I don't think it's the doll. I think there's something on the outside opening up and wants to get to the doll.
I love that.
And it's fucking with its
Michael
face.
with the fresh angle.
Yeah. I think something is attracted to the doll, not the doll's trying to get out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the old ventriloquist.
That's what
There you go.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Or just like it's a
Love that.
triggering item for whatever's in that. Look, you said he had a bunch of freaky shit in there.
Yeah.
What if there's another entity
His freak room. Yeah.
that already lives in the freak room that's like, what the fuck is up with this little thing?
Yeah.
And he's like opening the cabinet and messing with the dolls. Because Riley, I guess you pointed this out on the thread that
There's some orbs.
Yeah,
There's
there's
some
looks like
orbs flying around.
some white light orbs flying around it too, but
I don't get I don't know why. We always say trust your gut on this show. I don't think the doll's trying to get out. I think something's trying to get to that doll.
I love
head.
that instinct. That's great. Well, we'll post a link in our show notes, and you guys should check it out. Let us know what you think. But
It is also, just to throw it out there, devil's advocate, like the perfect recipe for a hoax.
Sure.
yeah, no, totally.
You know, it's like, oh, I'll just set up this camera to film my haunted doll.
yeah.
it's
It's
like
also
in
the
this
plot to magic, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's a promotional viral video.
Oh my God.
No, you're right. It is. It's sort of like
I don't want to call Mike Diamond a liar.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Right.
not what I'm saying.
How dare
I'm
you,
just,
sir?
I'm just saying, just maybe let's check out.
I know. Also, when it said he has, what did he say, like ancient weapons or something? I'm like, I
Yeah.
bet he's got like Nazi knives in
Right,
that room.
Yeah.
But there's some fucked up
That's a
lamp in
Nazi
that
guy
room or
for
something.
sure.
secret room. Full
Yeah.
of Nazis.
There's the public freak room,
Yeah,
and then there's the
yeah.
freak room.
Yeah.
Like,
You want a deep freak experience or just the regular?
Give me the deep freak, please. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's time for Seth Morris and his personal paranormal history.
Sweet. It's a good video.
It's
hey.
a great video.
It's a fun, you know what, that ventriloquist dummy video, it's a fun romp.
I'm sure you've seen it. This is years ago. Have you seen the little gnome in South America that
Yes.
goes across the
we
road?
did this on an episode.
I'm sure you must have.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a good
what
one.
is your take on that? Because
I think it's probably a little person fucking with people.
That's kind of how I felt too. However, there was a big wave in Argentina in the mid to late 2000s, like the
gnome
2000 a gnome wave. People were seeing,
That sounds like
really?
an obscure
Gnomes.
music genre.
and
or
we
something.
did an episode. I believe Anna O'Reilly was our guest,
Yeah.
and I found like a story about a family that lived 10 years apart in the same farmhouse, and both were terrorized by a tiny little man who wore a pointed cap, who was trying to eat fish out of their koi pond, and lived in their barn, the old barn on the property.
Two different families, same house.
Two different families.
Really?
Yeah.
And they only found each other because the guy who was like hosting the blog, he got 2 separate letters over the course of like 8 years.
Oh, really?
And he was like, wait a minute, this sounds
Yeah.
like a letter I got 8 years ago.
Right.
Because he did a bunch of like weird stuff. What's haunting your house? All that
Yeah,
stuff. And he put these 2 women in touch, and they started emailing separately. And then eventually they're like, oh, we lived in the same house. Drove out there together and were like, yep, this is the place. And when they came out there, the barn that this supposed gnome had lived in had been torn down. The new owners would not talk to them about it, and they had torn down the barn where the gnome was.
Ooh.
And then and this also isn't creepypasta because now we can debate whether or not they're telling the truth always in this stuff, but they were on like an episode of like Monster Quest or whatever. Like, so they have their names are on
Why are
record.
you laughing, Seth?
Well, I'm just
We know
saying,
it's real because they were on TV
no,
about
no,
it.
no.
They're
I'm
on
just-
Monster Quest.
I'm just
What
saying.
more do you need?
Well, because a lot of time, yes, but the reason I say that is because oftentimes in 2019, when you're hearing like eyewitness accounts, you're like,
Yeah.
it's like you get in the Slender Man territory,
Right.
As we talked about last week, where you're like, this is just fan fiction written
Right.
for the internet.
Right.
But there were actually two physical women with names, and I can't think of them, who were willing to go on camera and say that
Right.
they had these experiences. It wasn't somebody writing John Carpenter level
Right,
like
right.
internet fiction just to creep people out. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't creepypasta. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
I love it.
But it was all kind of around the same time as that Argentinian gnome wave of the late 2000s.
I love that phrase.
Can we coin that? I think that's the first.
Gnome Wave. They're playing at Coachella.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like some obscure like subgenre.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not
great.
into Argentinian gnome wave, dude?
Oh, man.
Get with the
Yeah,
times.
it's truly psychedelic.
So Seth, I take it you're a skeptic.
Yeah.
But what is your personal paranormal history?
Okay, so I'm a skeptic, but I've always liked the idea of this stuff
Great.
from a young age. I was a big Art Bell fan.
man.
Well, welcome
You're
to the
in-
club.
I'm not. I don't
company
like
here.
George Norrie so
no,
much. I
Same.
never
Also
have.
us.
Yeah,
I've always
well,
found
you
him
know,
annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
we get it.
But,
We get it. We get
But
it.
I loved Art Bell, and I used to just like, as a kid, like to be scared and stuff. So I have two things that we could talk about, and we could talk about
actually,
one or both.
before we get there, I want to talk about your relationship to Art Bell.
Oh, okay.
Because I think this is really fascinating, and a lot of our listeners will relate to this. Because I can remember the moment for me, but when did you discover Art Bell? What hooked you, and what was your relationship to Coast to Coast AM? With
There's
Art-
a couple.
Art
There's a
Bell
couple. I
growing
used
up?
to go camping with my dad, and like we'd go out to the desert, and that's where you could get radio stations from far away at night, especially out there in the desert. And I can't remember why there's not as much interference or whatever. And so every once in a while, we'd hear like trucker stations, not CB, but like radio shows for truckers. And then one of them was Art Bell. And then I got super into that was when I was a kid. And then I got super into it like in my 20s. And I've always been a big radio listener, but I would listen to that and just, captivated from the beginning because it was a total other world that I hadn't heard, didn't know about, not just the paranormal, but a lot of truckers would call in,
Yes,
a
that's
lot
my
of
favorite.
Southerners, and then just the whole drama of from the high desert, somewhere, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Loved it. And like, he had a way, unlike George Norrie, where George Norrie is always kind of like, oh, that's neat. Like Art Bell was just like, are you serious? Everything
Right,
was just so intense and so vibrant,
Right. Whereas George Norrie's like, well, Seth,
Yeah.
how much should we be investing in
Yeah.
gold right now?
Yeah, exactly. Especially now, George Norrie's just so conspiracy and
It's gotten a
And also,
real-
he just believes everything. Like, I just wonder, how does your cosmology work? There's angels, there's UFOs, everything
I
is
think
a
he's
possibility.
really religious.
Yeah.
And so I think George Norrie sees things through the veil of angels and demons.
Yeah, probably.
And he's very into the idea of a satanic Illuminati.
Yeah.
Whereas Art Bell would be like, go on.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be like, so you're a werewolf. Tell me about that.
Right.
Not necessarily like, I believe everything you're saying, but
Yeah.
he's like, let's go with this.
Yeah.
And that's what was so cool. Do you remember a specific story that was on the Art Bell show?
A bunch. There was the hellhole in
please go. We've not
Russia
talked about
or something
much
like
about
that. Well,
this.
because also, like any good producer, he would just lead up to this stuff. We have there's a ton that come to mind. But one was
please,
there
I
was
love all
a
this.
hellhole, a gateway to hell I think it was in Russia. Where he kept leading up, like, we're gonna hear some of this, and I don't know if it was the build up. And this show was always on at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And
where did you grow up?
I grew up in Northern California.
Okay.
And then they played it, and it was like a quiet crackle, and then you hear like a devilish scream. It was fucking horrific.
Awesome.
It was so great. So I used to just love to, even as an adult, I would lay in bed and be just sort of terrified of.
Yeah, it was supposedly, I think, in Siberia.
Yeah.
The super deep borehole.
Yeah.
The Kola super deep borehole. Kola Peninsula. Wait, it shares borders with Norway and Finland. Okay, go on.
So there, that was one, and then is it Richard Hoagland who would talk about the pyramids on
Of
Mars,
course.
and that whole thing, and just like, especially like listening.
Art, I found a robot on Mars, and I can tell you that everything NASA's doing is on the black books.
Yeah,
and
everything. It was just like the perfect blend of that. Somebody like that was like the perfect blend of I'm telling you a secret, and also it's just the facts. I'm just here to tell the truth, kind of a guy. You know?
Right.
So there's all these different genres of.
How did all that settle with you? Were you like, oh, these guys are telling these wild tales, or?
Yeah, I kind of saw like ghost stories and stuff like that. I mean, earlier on, I'm interested in the Willow Creek thing because Bigfoot was a big thing when I was a kid, mainly from $6 Million Man. I'm older than anybody here.
Yeah,
but
that was Andre the Giant.
I regret.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Dude, Andre the Giant. Also, I recently, when I was in Nashville a couple months ago, found I put it on our Instagram. I found this awesome Bigfoot figure from the $6 Million Man riding like a yellow like motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like $50, and I was like, I don't want to spend that on that. And I've thought about it every day since. I should have bought it at the clubhouse.
Opportunity.
I'm real bummed.
But I always loved the idea of Bigfoot, and when we'd go camping, my dad would like say that he saw a Bigfoot or something to entertain me and my brother.
Yeah, in the 70s, Bigfoot was really treated as the Santa Claus of the woods.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like? Why was it so big in the 70s? Was camping bigger in the 70s?
I don't know, but there was. I know it was on $6 Million Man, and there's probably some other things. There was a Sasquatch boom.
I think they did
in
all
search
that
of
stuff.
yes.
And then of course,
well, when was that the main
Legend
video?
of Boggy Creek. Well, that was in when was the Patterson Gimlin film?
1967.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it was
so
right
yeah,
around
so
that time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of
That's really when it-
launched
that's
a
really when it picked up
generation
steam,
of
yeah.
imaginations.
yeah.
And it really is that moment where you're at. It's sort of. I wonder if it coincides with the bicentennial, a moment when America's like reflecting on itself and being like.
Well, you know what though? I also feel like, especially, so for that time, America was in chaos, Vietnam, Watergate, and all this stuff. And I think in times like that, people start to latch on to more esoteric, supernatural things. Like I have a theory that in the next 10-ish years, cults are going to become big again.
Oh, interesting.
Because truth doesn't matter anymore. Everything's so scattered and
I'd
fragmented.
argue that we're in the middle of a giant cult that's running.
Well, that too. But I mean, even like old school Moonies and stuff. I feel like there's going to be more of that. That's just my little pet
Well,
theory.
but no, I think you're
right
onto
about that.
something because we've talked multiple times, right, on this show, especially this past year, that like UFOs are having a massive resurgence, or as we call them now, UAPs.
Wait, what is that?
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Oh, okay.
Because there was this article that came out a couple years ago now in the New York Times where a former administration official from the Pentagon admitted that there had been recently at least a 12-year program studying unidentified aerial phenomenon, and now recently the Navy came out to be like, yeah, we don't know what this stuff is.
Got it.
So we're in this new surge where we're learning that now military and Pentagon officials are being like, yeah, we're studying this stuff and we don't know what it is. So it's kind of like
Well, just more than that,
again.
the Navy made an official claimant that they acknowledge that these things are invading their airspace and that they have no idea what they are.
Yes, but
And
they're not saying they're from another planet. They're
No.
just saying we don't know
Well,
what
hence
it is.
they have no idea what they are. Yeah,
Exactly.
and that the reporting practices can now be different, Whereas before, if you were reporting a UFO as an airline pilot or perhaps a military pilot, you would not do it.
Right, because you'd get scared.
In fear of losing your wings.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is how it all came out, because the Navy pilots are like, we're fed up of not being able to have an avenue to report this shit.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think I like that idea that in times of
Escapism.
national stress or national reflection, because I do think, and I've made this argument on the show, and it's not my original idea. It comes from a couple different places, but the idea that Bigfoot represents an idealistic version of our naturalist past, where we're like, the further we've gotten into technology, the further away we are from our survival instincts of being able to live in the woods and be off the grid.
Right.
And so there's sort of a saint of the woods, a friendly giant of the forest,
Right.
that sort of represents like, remember
Nature.
when you could live off nature, and you've forgotten it now?
Well, that was also Bigfoot was coming out around the time when environmentalism was starting to get going, and I remember the thing with Bigfoot was always scared of us. He was always like wanted to be left alone. There weren't that many that I remember early on. Reports of Bigfoot attacking. Guess maybe some cattle or some livestock or something.
Well,
but
possibly.
Yes. That could also be aliens, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Yeah. A couple Bigfoot abductions here and there, but someone always seems to get away.
Yeah, I'd say it's about 30-70, 30 reporting malfeasance, where 70% is just some, benevolent.
There seems to be
nature wood ape.
Yeah, there seems to be. If let's say if Bigfoot is a spectrum, a narrow spectrum of a species that is maybe around the hundreds living across in the hundreds living across North America, that I would agree that like most of them are pretty docile. Omnivores leaning herbivore, have to maybe eat some livestock during the winter. But then there seems to be like a sliver of these entities that are a little bit more aggressive.
Maybe it's a different like Neanderthal.
Yeah, it's like there's one that they say is a little bit more like a mandrill.
There's a theory that's floating around that really these creatures are so intelligent that they recognize the danger of man and encroaching upon man, and so they know to stay away and to not be spotted, and to really stay away from man is their prime directive. Stay back up in the woods and only show yourself if you have to, or if you need to do an initiation and do a highway crossing.
They've basically learned everything that Frankenstein.
What do you mean initiation?
And King Kong have learned.
There's a lot of there's been a lot of video of what they call Bigfoot highway crossings. So there's a lot of video, even from patrol cars, of these strange hairy bipedal creatures like crossing highways.
What's the initiation?
Yeah, this is a new concept on
It's
the
like
show.
them, like if you want to be.
No.
Cross,
you pussy,
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, that's
Are you
exactly
serious?
right. Yeah, I swear to God.
Wait,
man.
You've never
heard
about
that?
this.
No.
Yeah, no.
We're almost 100 guest interviews in.
Well, let me welcome you to the world of the highway crossing initiation.
They're
Wow.
daring each
Bigfoot
other to do
fraternity.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, whoa.
That's one theory. It's not mine, but it
Could
seems
it just
to
be that they're like, I live in the woods and this highway's running through it.
The reason being, I think, is that like it's so random in these dark woods that traverse the woods that it only happens. It happens quite frequently that these creatures run across in front of these car lights.
You mean so
they
close.
could easily just run behind them and not ever be seen at all.
Right.
So that's, I think, how the theory got legs, so to speak.
Love this. What is it called?
The highway crossing initiation.
Highway crossing
it's
initiation.
like
You know
Seth
what?
says,
This is
"Do
a
it,
fucking
do it. You're a,
t-shirt."
you're a juvenile Sasquatch. When are you going to cross 85?
This reminds me, when I was in junior high, we used to sneak out of my friend's house and we would go to Highway 101 in Northern California and run across the highway
There
and
you
like
go.
dare each other. And we'd peek out of the bushes and see like if there was a car coming, and if there wasn't, we'd be like, go! And we'd just see how far down the highway we could get. And we'd be in the middle of the, where the bushes
sure
are.
you're not
too
Yeah.
far off.
Yeah.
You're not a
Based in
Bigfoot?
reality.
Finally, what town in Northern California?
I grew up in a town called Nevada, which is in Marin County.
Okay, how close are you to Mount Shasta? We talked about Mount
Oh,
Shasta.
I'm not very close.
That's too
but
far.
that's another
so
like
far north.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
We talked about it last week
Yeah.
on the show with Matt Gorley, and boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, oh boy.
Well,
is there a lot of
that's
shit.
Sasquatch and aliens, right?
Sasquatch,
Exactly.
aliens,
Everything.
Lemurians, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
It's a broad spectrum. So let's get back on topic here.
Yeah.
You were into Art Bell, in all this stuff,
Yep.
and then got back into it in college. And
Yep.
since then, have you had any experiences that would support or negate anything that you might have heard on Coast to Coast with Art Bell?
I've had none to support what I would see there, and the negation is just just being a general cynic about everything. I
Right.
just don't. I guess there's not enough for me compelling evidence. That's why things like I can wrap my head around UFOs and Sasquatch more than I could ghosts or God or
Gnomes.
gnomes, some of the angels, some of this other stuff. I just can't. And that's where I could get excited about. Like it could make sense to me that all right, there might be every other continent has an ape. Why not North America? Or UFOs, like the universe is so vast, so huge. Maybe we have. I believe they probably exist, but I feel like we probably haven't seen them yet. I don't buy the whole that the government's sitting on some information. I just nobody can keep secrets.
You can entertain
anywhere.
these ideas if they could be and might possibly would be grounded in science.
Well,
And also, I just sort of feel like it's the same thing. No offense, but with like God, I'd be like, even if it does exist, so fucking what? The world is still fucked up. Like it's not. If people that
God
believe in this
exists,
stuff,
he's
as if
sitting
like
back and letting us just
and
fuck
what
each
good
other
is
up.
we're the what is it, the Nephilim? Or no, that's angels. But
I think you're talking about the Nephilim.
Gods, the
No,
fallen ones.
the
giants of
aliens
Enoch.
are our missing link, or we're the
Right.
so what? You still just traffic still sucks.
Yeah.
Fucking rent is still annoying.
Yeah.
It's still
We're still
what
being
good
so
is any of this
mean to each other.
bullshit if it's still just a mundane life?
Right.
They
right,
wanted
right.
our Earth women.
Yeah.
Couldn't keep their hands
the
off them.
sons of God.
They wanted the glory of waiting in line for a coffee behind somebody who couldn't make up their mind.
And I get that.
They betted
The majesty
the
of-
daughters of Adam. And I had a friend named Adam, and he had 3 daughters. And let me tell you, they were pretty tempted.
We kick around a theory around here at the Collectors Club that all this stuff and it can be kind of put into a package together, that there seems to be a phenomena that can mutate and transmogrify into some of these different things, that perhaps the ghost thing is related to the UFO thing, which is related to the Bigfoot thing, which is why nobody can ever find one. But that this quote unquote phenomena can sometimes manifest itself through different ways and through different cultures and societies. And
Well, what I was going to
it's a
say,
strange
that
thing.
makes me think of, because recently they're talking about, scientists are talking about the proof, right, of multiple universes and possible. So maybe that's, maybe that, who knows? I am a skeptic, but I guess maybe I'm a little bit agnostic, because there's some of this stuff that I'm like, I kind of want it to be
You're
true
in
because
the
it's
best
neat.
position to be. I call it the agnostic skeptic. You're willing to at least entertain the
Yeah.
idea if you can be maneuvered or shown something like a ventriloquist doll,
Right.
blinking and opening its mouth.
Conclusive proof. So there you go.
Did I mishear you when you said that you had 2 things you wanted to talk
Oh,
about?
if you want, like cases that I've been fascinated
please,
with,
please.
and we do them in whatever you want.
You go
one.
for it.
One is the Russian Yeti.
Oh, yeah.
The Mank.
The Menk. And then the other is shadow people.
Oh,
yeah.
Which I've always been scared and fascinated with shadow people.
Okay, let's
me
start with
too.
shadow people, and then we'll go to the
All
Mank.
right, because it's sort of, and I don't know, I haven't had any experience, but I've always been fascinated with them. The first experience, or what got me into it was, again, it's a radio thing. So in the Bay Area, probably in a lot of places they used to do this, they would play old radio shows, like old, 1940s radio dramas and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was one that they would play scary stuff, and there was like an old. It wasn't noir, but it was like an old thing. And it was called The Shadow People. And it was about a guy being chased by shadow people. And I remember being so fucking scared of it in my bed that I was too scared to reach out of my covers to turn off the radio. And that is always
That's perfect.
And it's just such a particularly, and I started to, and then they talk about him on Art Bell.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably a pretty rational explanation, but like the specifics of it are so scary, and I wrote some stuff down. So
I love that you brought in notes. This is
I want to make sure I remember. So these are shadow
a joy.
people. They've this phenomena has existed all across cultures. All different cultures has their version of this throughout time. No face, genderless. A lot of times people see them out of the corner of their eye, which to me is so terrifying. They see them out of the corner of their eye, and then they I wrote down this down from the internet. They lurk about in an unseen dimension. Often seen running across rooms or standing beside you. But what's so scary to me is that you just see them out of the corner of your eye, and then when you turn, they either sink back into the shadows or they're just not there. And again, that's probably like your cornea,
blood vessels in your eyes or whatever.
But it's such a fun thing. Most fade into nothing after being looked at, because they don't want to be seen. You can see them by the day, but they're most dangerous at night, and they're accompanied by sleep paralysis.
Yes,
and there's a couple. People wake up paralyzed in the middle of the night. All they can move is their eyes, and there's a couple of different sort of versions of it. And one is people look over to the side and they'll see a tall figure. First, just standing there looking at them, which to me is the most terrifying. It's not moving; it's just standing and staring. Yeah. And then it comes towards you and starts to choke you, starts to press down on your chest, because it's associated with chest
succubus.
Yeah, that kind of thing. There's another little subspecies called the Hat Man.
Yes, the Hat Man is
which
fantastic.
It's just like a silhouette of a person, a thing wearing a hat, and it looks like a hat and a trench coat.
Yeah, like a fedora.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
A dandy.
Like Curious George's owner, but
the man in the yellow hat.
Evil.
But, there was
Exactly.
that. What was the movie with Emily Blunt and Matt Damon and the guy played Roger Sterling? Why am I blanking on his name from Mad Men? It was called the something Bureau.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes,
but I think that they were like guys in hats and fedora.
Oh, maybe they were inspired by this.
Well, that's what I always thought, because I never saw the movie.
Yeah.
Matt Damon. I'm gonna Google it, but they were guys that like were fucking with space time.
Oh, okay.
And I always went, oh, maybe this is inspired by the shadow people and like why they're wearing hats.
Yeah,
You know,
I bet it is.
Bureau. Let me see. Anyway, go on. And
okay.
I'll
So
find it.
then there's Hat Man. There's the Old Hag,
Yes.
which is it's slowly-
Adjustment Bureau.
Adjustment Bureau.
Terrible name.
Yeah.
Should have called them the Shadow Men, and
Hat
then we would all have seen it.
guys.
But
Yeah.
Hat Men.
The Old Hag will slowly climb into your bed, climbs on top of your chest, and stares into your eyes. That's what I think is so fucked up.
And she might fuck you.
She might.
She might, and you may not be into it.
Yeah, her pussy ain't old. Then some see them as devils, and this is what I thought was funny. Some see them as devils. Some see them as angels. I'm like, angels? These things are terrifying.
Yeah.
One
And
man's trash is another man's angel.
That's right. Others see them as like an alien technology that malfunctioned. Like maybe it's being
I like that
transported.
one. I
Yeah,
like
kind of like
that.
that. Or that it's an alternate reality and they're kind of bleeding in. And again, I'm sure it's some sort of ocular thing, and the Old Hag stuff is night terrors.
Well, I
and
can speak to this, and the reason that you see it across all cultures and all different peoples is because we all sleep.
Yeah.
And what happens is practitioners of lucid dreaming, there's one way to go into it, and that's just to stay awake until without moving until you fall asleep, and slowly
everyone
realizing
stays awake until they fall asleep.
Well, no.
So
Just hold on. Let me finish.
I'm just saying.
Until you. There's a couple different methods to try lucid dreaming, but
You mean stay conscious?
To stay as conscious as long as you can when you enter that dreaming state. And what's commonly reported is that as soon as they start to enter that sleeping state, they report an entity, the presence of an entity in a room. And they usually feel like a suffocation, something heavy on their chest, sitting or standing on them. And they feel they feel the presence of somebody observing them, whether it's a shadow person or an alien or a hag. So it all has to do with sort of this sleep paralysis thing that you mentioned. But there's some shadow people cases that can't be explained by just that.
Because I'm curious if you guys know more.
People being harmed.
Can I
by
make
them
a confession?
Yeah.
And I'm skeptical about sharing anything now. Ever since the time I thought I saw my neighbor walk through a solid fence and then realized I was just seeing something out of the corner of my eye.
Right.
So listen, if I know I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But I've been having real weird nights lately. And the other night, I think I saw a shadow person. I was not in sleep paralysis. I had woken up in the middle of the night because my dog was stirring, and I've been very sensitive about Albie and not sleeping very well because, he had massive surgery in September, and I'm just a little, on alert, even though he's fine. So if I hear him stirring at night, I'm kind of, got my, parental, hey, what's up? Is he okay? Are you dying? Literally, I'll pull his bed close to my bed and be like, are you okay? That kind of stuff. So he's got an ear infection right now. I think he got up to scratch. And so I woke up and I was wide awake, but it was dark in my room. And I have the horrific feature in my bedroom, which is 3 sliding glass mirrors running along my closet alongside my bedroom. And it's,
So basically a large portal.
Yes.
Right in
3 large portals in my room. Well, so I was looking at Albie, then I looked up and I saw a shadow on the mirror, basically. And I wasn't scared, which was what was really weird about it. It was very tall. I could see the shoulders and head, and I was kind of looking at it wide awake. I mean, not wide awake, but I wasn't sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
And I wasn't terrified, but I was like, oh, yeah, that really looks like a shadow person, huh? And then I was looking at it, and I was like, and then I remember looking over at my window to see if any light was coming in through the window to project anything, and I was like, I really don't know where the shape of that figure's coming from. And I went, it's probably just something reflecting on the mirror. So my dog was fussing a little bit more. I oddly enough, I wasn't freaked out by it. And then I turned on the lights, and where the shadow person was, that mirror panel was open. So it was just in my closet, which was black.
So it wasn't a mirror.
It wasn't
a reflection.
So how did I see an outline of a shadow? You know what I mean?
There was no hanger, clothes on hanger to the side.
Was it a shirt?
I went, no, because it's a bookshelf. Oh. And because actually where
Filled
it
with
is,
Star
they're
Wars
like,
toys. Also
well,
true.
that's my office. This is like a shelf that's just like the one in my office full of toys. But I was like, oh, yeah, there's nothing here creating that shape. And I'm even more curious about it now that there wasn't a solid reflective surface that a shadow would have been projected on. But look, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to jump into any conclusions, but I definitely was looked at a shadowy figure that looked...
But it didn't scare you.
It didn't, which is shocking because I'm usually terrified by this shit.
Did you turn the lights back off and see if it reappeared again?
I did, and it did not.
Okay, there
And
you go. That's the interesting detail.
This has been a few nights now, and I've been like looking at it with the lights off. It doesn't look like it. It
Do
was
you
weird.
think? Do you guys think that since starting this podcast,
Yes.
that you're exposed to more stuff?
In fact, we've been told that by people in this field that we are.
So they think
we
that
are really
entities are
inviting shit
aware.
in. Yes,
because you're for whatever reason.
Because the simple fact of us speaking about this here is letting the other side know that we're into that.
A better way of saying that is there's a famed sort of paranormal investigator. We talk about him a lot on this show. His name was John Keel. He wrote The Mothman. But he said when you look at this phenomena, it has a tendency to look back at you, and which is very creepy. But we found to be very true. Like the more we explore this stuff, like. I've had some incidences happen since starting this podcast that are pretty unexplainable, that you're just like, man, that probably wouldn't have happened had I not continued to go down the rabbit hole,
Right.
But it's strange. It's weird.
Yeah.
What about the Mank?
Okay, so that's one I've always been fascinated with. And
why the Mank? Why the Russian Yeti?
I guess because here's the thing.
What is it about the Mank, Seth?
I first heard about it
so undeniable
on that. Shoot, I'm forgetting the guy's name. I think is it Aaron Mahnke actually? Do you know what that guy, that podcast?
Oh, man.
It's called
yeah. Is that Lore?
Lore.
Yeah.
So I first heard about it on Lore.
Dyatlov Pass?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a great one. It is.
And so and then when I looked it up, it seems like a little bit more explainable, but it's such an.
What do you think it is?
Well, first I'll tell
Okay.
in case people
Great.
don't know. So the Dyatlov Pass incident happened in '59, and it was a group of college kids that went to. They were going to do it.
Was it 1959?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, it was going to
it was
be
more
like
recent
a
than that.
2 or 3 day expedition to of like mountain climbing and
Yeah, they were mountaineers.
They were mountaineers, and they're all experienced. And this was there's some sort of certification program, and they were going to get even more certified. But they're experienced outdoors people, and so they during the night something happened.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Russian college students.
Russian
right?
college students, and they went. So basically, they were supposed to be back in however many days, and then they weren't found, and their families said you have to go look for these people, and they found like 14 days later or something. They found them, or what they found was their tent had a bunch of snow on it, and their tent had been ripped open from the inside.
Yeah.
Freaky, weird. Then they found them scattered all over the place in various states of undress. Mm-hmm. And then some of them were wearing the other people's clothes. And they're a little further down from the tent, there was the remains of a fire.
Yep.
And there was I don't know how much 5 meters is, but 5 meters up in the tree.
15 feet, yeah.
Okay. So pretty high up were some broken torn away branches.
They had climbed the tree.
Right. So they think they had climbed the tree.
Never has that phrase been said more ominously than the way Bryce.
Well,
they had climbed the tree.
Which means who does that? If you're freezing cold, your inclination is not to go up.
Right. So are you running from something?
Goddamn right they were.
And then they found and a lot of them died from hypothermia, but three or so had died from a blunt trauma to the chest.
Yes.
And one to two in the chest and one to the skull. And they were saying they ruled out that it could have been these the local indigenous people chasing them off because the force with which these things
the coroner described it like a car accident.
Yes, yeah. And so
there was someone with their tongue missing and their eyes missing, correct?
Right. Yes. Found at a creek. Now, here's what I think probably happened.
Avalanche?
I think it was probably an avalanche, and then hypothermia, and then what is it called? It's called like paradoxical undressing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you
because
have
hypothermia, when you get super cold, you start undressing because you feel super hot.
You feel hot, yeah. And the tree could have been them climbing to see where's our tent. We want to, because they left a light on in the tent. They left a flashlight on in the tent. The clothes were some of them died from hypothermia, and the ones that were still alive took their clothes and put their clothes on.
Yes.
Makes sense.
the eyes and lips. There was one with lips missing. Animals after the fact. But the
What about those journals though, where the lady describes sort of being stalked? And have you seen the pictures?
I don't know if I know about that journal thing
of the supposed UFO that they saw in the sky, and the last frame of the camera film.
Seth.
Oh, I love this.
You
Is
brought
what
a
I
knife
wanted to
a
hear.
Gunfight, brother.
Yeah.
No, this is what I wanted to hear.
Wait,
you seen-
before Bryce, before you say that, let Seth finish his
I
thought. What
get
do you
so
think the
excited.
blunt force stuff was?
I think that could have been an avalanche.
Yeah,
You know?
Absolutely.
Go,
But it is weird that it didn't happen to all of them.
no, I know.
So the picture that was authenticated in the camera roll of one of the hikers, it was the last picture frame on their camera. They keep it in a vault. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. So in the journal, one of the ladies, I forget her name, but she describes a feeling of dread, that something was sort of terrorizing their trek up this mountain.
Right.
Which is known as, like, I think Death Mountain or something
Yes,
like
that was the other thing. Is like the local people called it like the place you do not go or something like that.
That's right. And the last photo that was taken on the camera was of that.
What?
What is it? Describe
It's
what
a
you're saying.
fucking Yeti, is what it is. Whoa!
Yeah.
Ooh, that's awesome. And it's doing like a creepy, looking,
it's looking
peeking
out
around
from
it.
behind this, but you can see how long the arm is and just how huge this.
Yeah.
You can almost see the fur on this creature's
Oh, I love it.
body. And Mike's like, well, that could be a guy in a
I mean,
in
I
a
do
ski
think it
jacket.
could be like a dude in a full snowsuit, but
I
it
say-
is
Let me
see
creepy
I
as
say-
fuck.
Brush
no.
up on this.
Because they're way out there. And
Well, and not only that, you
It's
put
creepy
together
as
these
fuck,
these
dude.
these crushing traumas to
Yeah.
the body, the taken out
yeah.
tongue. This is
Yeah.
all sort of Russian Mank lore.
Yeah.
you
We
know?
did this. We did this.
We covered
early
this episode
like,
on one of our highest
episode
strangenesses.
4
It's
or
been a
5.
case
It's been a while.
that's fascinated me. Not only that, because it's rare that you hear of an actual of death with something of this magnitude. And then when it was related to Bigfoot too, you're like, oh shit, like something went down. They were told not to go there.
That's
They
creepy
went there
as
anyway.
fuck. It is.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a spooky ass fucking photo.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that away from anybody. It is. That's fucking.
Well, and
creepy.
and that photo
Truly
has
is.
been authenticated. I mean, it sits in a vault at the Dyatlov Pass Museum there in that place in the Ural Mountains.
Yeah.
So it is.
Oh, that's
it
awesome.
is wild. It is creepy, and these creatures have been purported to use something like infrasound. Do you know what infrasound is? It's a low inaudible frequency that causes paranoia, disillusion, and panic. And tigers have it. Orca whales have it. They use it to sort of stun their prey.
Oh, okay.
Or inflict a tremendous amount of fear, giving them extra seconds to
is this
to
the
render their
same
attack.
frequency that like furnaces and air conditionings in massive buildings can give off to induce people thinking that their house is haunted?
Yeah, it could
Like
be.
a low vibrational hum.
It's an
that's-
inaudible, low frequency harmonic that can be detected in large mammals,
but sometimes machines can cause it too,
they
right?
Like the
can,
Cuba
they can.
stuff, probably.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
been
that's
long
interesting.
thought that these Sasquatches or these Russian Manx have the ability to use infrasound,
that's cool.
and causing that panic for these hikers to run up to cut their
Yeah.
tent from the inside
Yeah.
out in a fleeing panic, rip off their
Yeah.
clothes, and head out into the snowstorm.
Yeah.
Which is the last thing you would do if you're freezing cold. You would bunker down together
Right.
and wait it out. But everything goes against what would normally happen.
Right.
Which is why I don't think it was, an avalanche, or I don't think it was that some guy wrote a book saying it was like some sort of sound coming through the canyon below causing, he sort of called it infrasound, but
Yeah, it looks like a high-
winds blowing
due
through.
to natural elements that caused it.
But wouldn't it be fascinating just to play? I don't want to say devil's advocate, but like devilish advocate. Wouldn't it be fun to what if there was something about the way the canyons and the caves or whatever's up there
It's possible.
is structured that the wind blew through and
That's
created
one
that.
theory.
And that's why generationally,
Right.
like the locals would be like, do not go fucking up there because it'll fuck your
Does
brain
that look
up.
like wind, Michael?
I mean, that
That
could
look
be,
like wind. And
that
did
could
you
be a
see-
Russian serial killer in a snowsuit.
Now, here's a strange even stranger. A few of the picture frames before show this light in the sky, and and they got 2 picture frames of it. It looks like sort of a classic UFO. Now, what has been said
Where are
that
those
there
photos?
was I can show
Show 'em.
that there was a Russian military base not too far
Right.
by, and it was supposed that they were testing their 2-stage rocket system, and then that's might have been what they captured on film and on camera, and that this group of hikers sort of trespassed onto this military incognito operation. But I don't think that's the case. Just that blunt trauma force that was happened to those 2 hikers, their ribs. The coroner described it as almost being squeezed, hugged, crushed.
Yeah.
Which is just insane. I mean, who does that? But yeah, those pictures of the
Anyone who hugs
Anybody who
someone
hugs,
to death should be
I'm a
locked
hugger.
up.
You know, Russians hug, and when they do, they hug ferociously.
Listen, a hug is a sign of affection. Now, I think it's gotten a little out of control, but I think I should be allowed to hug someone if I love them.
we all love vodka.
That's cool. This is what I was hoping to get.
They're not too conclusive, but these are the pictures from the same camera roll of film, just a few frames behind that.
Or the military testing could have set off the mink.
Yeah,
Right.
but I forget the name of the indigenous tribe that inhabit those woods. I'm sure I could find it within seconds. But they long
Do
claim
it.
they have
I'll
no
time you.
Yeah, they have no problem saying that no, there is a large bipedal hairy creature that inhabit these woods, and it is called the Mank. We've known about it, and it's not a spiritual creature in their mythology. It is a physical presence that they live and cohabitate with, and they fear its presence.
The other issue with the avalanche theory is that there would be a huge debris field that you would find 14 days later in a cold climate, and there's no report of that, right?
Yeah, no.
Because have you ever seen an avalanche? I mean, it leaves a massive amount of evidence of avalanche
the
occurred.
Mansi, the Mansi natives.
Yeah, that's it. The Mansi tribe. Yeah.
Mansi.
Yeah. Wow,
I
that's
love
awesome.
that case. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that picture just that's the same way I felt when I saw the 67 Patterson Gimlin footage. It's just a gut feeling that there's something unnatural about what I'm looking at,
Yeah,
And I think sometimes we just have to go with our gut,
Yeah.
Speaking of going with your gut,
Yeah.
Seth, there's a game we like to play with all of our guests. Rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm going to go down a list of entities and oddities. And if you believe in it, you're going to say believe it. If you don't believe in it, you're going to say bullshit. There's no in between.
Okay.
You have to
do it in a
decide
George
in the moment.
Norrie voice.
Yeah, if you want to do George Norrie voice,
I'm George
go for
Norrie?
it.
Okay.
You're George Norrie.
Can I do Art Bell?
You do Art Bell if you want to.
Okay.
This is called bullshit.
You missed your line there, Bryce.
Or believe it.
I
was
so
so
into the
impressed
sound
with your
effect.
timing.
I know, I
Christ.
nailed it. Finally
Nailed your
nailed the sound
timing.
effect.
Jesus
mine.
Christ.
He botched the
Every
line.
time. We
One
got
of
to
these days
can that
we'll get it
sound.
right.
All right.
No,
Bullshit or believe
never.
it. Seth Morris.
Yeah.
On your mark.
Yeah.
Get set.
Okay.
Ghosts.
Bullshit.
UFOs.
Believe it.
Bigfoot.
Bullshit.
Little gray aliens.
Bullshit.
Out of body experiences.
Bullshit.
Demonic possession.
Bullshit.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Ooh. Bullshit.
Alien abductions.
Bullshit.
Loch Ness Monster.
Bullshit.
Time travel.
Believe it.
Mothman.
I don't know anything. Don't bullshit.
Reincarnation.
Bullshit.
ESP.
Bullshit.
Haunted houses.
Bullshit.
The Illuminati.
Bullshit.
There's a face on Mars.
Bullshit.
Skunk ape.
Bullshit.
Heaven.
Bullshit.
Hell.
Bullshit.
Sea serpents.
Believe it.
Poltergeists.
Bullshit.
Chupacabra.
Believe it.
Atlantis.
Believe it.
Life on other planets.
Believe it.
Parallel dimensions.
Believe it.
The apocalypse.
Duh. Yeah.
Life after death.
bullshit.
Okay, nice one.
Well done.
By the way, that's our brand new year 3 bullshit or believe it list.
Ah,
I think
like
it's pretty fucking
Oh, it's
good.
different every time?
Yeah, well, I just revised it. I had a rough draft last week with Matt Gorley, but I think I'm liking this new one.
Seth, I think I could turn you on the skunk ape.
What is the skunk ape? That's in the
It's the
south.
one
You know
that hangs
what?
out in the
Bryce
south.
smells
Oh.
a challenge.
You know what? For shits and giggles, pull up the photo of skunk ape. While you're doing that,
Oh, the Mayaca skunk ape?
sea serpents, believe it.
Yeah. Do you know they just discovered a 400-year-old shark?
No, I
A
love
shark
it.
that lives, it's like 300 and 400 years old. It goes deep down. So I think there's some thing
Well,
we
and
haven't
we all
seen.
know
And
the giant squid was recently proven to be real.
there's just so much about the ocean we don't know.
Oh, I like that. Okay, this isn't on the list, but what did you say for UFOs? Believe it?
I said, in the sense that,
I think you
there's
should believe it.
other
Unidentified flying objects.
life.
What about unidentified submerged objects? What if UFOs are coming from the ocean?
I want so much of these I want to believe, but
That's
I don't
fine.
think so.
Chupacabra, you said believe it. Why?
I think there might be a little funky missing link type of thing.
I love this. I love that you find a little funky missing link to be a thing, but Bigfoot, bullshit.
Yeah.
But you apologized, I
Yeah.
think, because our name is Bigfoot Collectors
Yeah.
Club. But
Well, also the chupacabra is small, and I actually, if I'm really pressed, I probably don't think it's real, but
Okay.
but it's smaller. It could probably
all right.
conceivably.
I like all this stuff. Okay, Bryce, you have
Skunk ape in the south of the United States.
Yeah, hold on. Before you do this,
okay.
I'm going to give you. This is going to be real fun. This might become a new segment. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to sell skunk ape. All right.
All right.
This
Elevator
is a new
pitch.
segment called 60 Seconds to Sell Skunk Ape. On your mark, get set, go.
There was an old lady in Sarasota, Florida. She wrote to her local sheriff's and animal control department saying, "Did somebody lose an orangutan? Somebody's been stealing my apples in my backyard." Anyway, she goes out with her camera in the middle of the night and she takes 2 pictures. She say, "I managed to get 2 pictures. I wouldn't have seen it as it weren't for the flash. And on the second picture, it sort of started getting up and it showed me its teeth." These are the 2 pictures of the Mayaca skunk ape. Now, as you can see, there are
30
2
seconds
pictures
left.
and you can see the canine teeth, the eye shine, and like she said in the second picture, it seems to be moving upward on the second, kind of standing taller. But it displays the strange
15 seconds.
characteristics of something biological, something real. I mean, what do you
That
think?
one looks exactly like an orangutan, though.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
5,
not an orangutan.
4,
How is it
3,
not? Couldn't
2,
it be like
1. Time's up.
Oh.
You have no other argument to make. Seth Morris, do you
I'm not
believe in
convinced.
skunk
I'm
ape?
not convinced.
You didn't buy skunk ape?
I got him to orangutan.
Yeah,
In Sarasota.
yeah.
An old lady
It's
took a
Florida.
picture of an orangutan.
I think some weirdo could have let their orangutan out by accident.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
We might have to do that again. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's time for this week's story of high strangeness.
Great, can't wait.
Ooh.
There's a great video that
I
you would
do-
love of a guy in a canoe. He's out in this swamp.
Bryce, your time is up. You could have used that video.
Well, I gotta say, you gotta see this one. And he sees this creature sort of digging in the ground with these long arms. Now, this is in a swamp where there's water moccasins, gators.
Yeah.
So anybody fucking around out there is really risking their life.
Yeah.
and
then
like hoping that somebody comes along to film them, unless
Yeah.
it's like some dude being like, "Hey, buddy, let's go out." It's you and
Right.
me
No, you would
going
love
out
it.
in the swamp and doing it.
You would love it.
Well, next time.
Next time.
this is
Another
awesome.
60
All right.
seconds.
Everyone, it's time for high strangeness.
Woohoo! Seth, I think you'll like this one because, and it's funny, it's not too paranormal in nature. This is something real. This is, you can touch with your hands. And but the story
Boy,
behind,
where's this going?
oh my god! But the story,
He's unbuttoning his pants.
well, first
It's
just
real.
touch it.
It is a phenomenon.
I want you to take 2 pictures of it.
It's certainly
On
haunted.
the second one, it's going to stand up a little taller and show you its teeth.
It's a shapeshifter. Now, anyone who can prove shapeshifter in 60 seconds.
Oh my god! Okay, I'm going to begin this story of high strangeness with a quote. This is from Thomas Malthus, an English scholar and philosopher. The superior power of population cannot be checked without producing misery or vice. The date was August 17th, 1983. Russia had just launched a surprise nuclear attack against the United States, obliterating most of, and if not all, of Los Angeles, New York, and Washington, D.C. With her defense capabilities still operable, Lady Liberty launches a counterattack, completely wiping out Moscow and its inhabitants. The World War would rage on for the next 2 years, leaving all of mankind without power, structure, and seemingly without hope. Yet a band of post-apocalyptic survivors heads southeast to none other than the state of Georgia. And after an exhausting trek, they stumble upon the small town of Elberton, where they encounter what they were looking for. A large megalithic monument made of granite, which held the keys to rebuilding society, marking the solstices, following the sun's movements, and laying out 10 principles to live by. They planted their flag on the small barren hill and claimed it as the new capital city of New America. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, but this is not the way it worked out during the height of the Cold War.
That's what my dad told me.
And thank God. But strangely enough, what did work out was when a mysterious man walked into the Granite City Bank in Elberton, Georgia, and laid bare his plans to build a megalithic structure that he would call the Georgia Guidestones, a Swiss army knife for the post-apocalyptic times. Have you ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
No.
I feel like this has come up on Art Bell before.
It might have.
I've heard of the Georgia Satellites.
Oh, really? What's the Georgia Satellites?
Got a little change in my pocket going jingle-lang-a-lang.
Oh, God, is that their name?
Yeah.
I fucking love that song. Man.
I'm so glad I could remember those words.
Oh, that's so great.
No, the Georgia...
The Georgia Guidestones.
Oh, I love it.
In June of 1979, a man did just that. He spoke with the bank's president, Wyatt Martin, and showed him his plans to create 4 large granite pillars, 5 meters high and 2 meters wide, with a center pillar and a capstone. On each slab of granite would be carved in stone 10 rules or guiding principles for humanity to follow should something like an apocalypse ever happen. They would be written out in all of the major languages of the world, feature astronomical alignments as well as a sundial, and the man would pay in cash, though he had one stipulation. He said he wanted to remain anonymous. When asked by Martin just why he wanted to do all this, his response was, "Let's just say I represent a small group of like-minded individuals who are concerned for mankind."
Just me and my cats.
"What should I call you?" replied Martin. "I'm a Christian, so you can call me R.C. Christian." Martin agreed to set up
Cool name.
Well, there's more on that.
Stands for really cool.
Really cool.
Just RC Christian works.
Martin agreed
I
to
also
set
love
up
RC Cola.
Yeah, let's make sure you're holding that. Like,
Martin agreed to set up a bank account to which Mr. Christian could funnel his money to pay for the project while remaining anonymous. And although a little strange, perhaps it might bring some intrigue to the small town. Why not? It's America after all. Next, R.C. approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company and commissioned the structure. Christian explained that the stones would function as a compass, calendar, and clock, and should be capable of withstanding catastrophic events. Joe Fendley of Elberton Granite assumed that Christian was a nut and attempted to discourage him by giving a quote several times higher than any project the company had taken.
What year was this? I'm sorry?
This was in 79,
Cool.
height of the Cold War. Explaining that the Guidestones would require additional tools and consultants, but to his surprise, R.C. Christian accepted the rather large quote. Construction began, and on March 22, 1980, an unveiling ceremony was held in front of the massive structure. And when the curtains fell and the public saw for the first time the strange and unusual object, there was an audible gasp, especially after having read the first guideline, which read, "Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature." And it was probably then that those involved in bringing Mr. R.C. Christian's plans to fruition were thinking just what the hell they gotten involved with. The messages engraved on the Georgia Guidestones were in 8 different languages, one language on each face of the 4 large upright stones, Moving clockwise around the structure from due north, these languages were in English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian. The guidelines read, Number 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Number 2. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Number 3. Unite humanity with a living new language. Number 4. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason.
Okay, hold on. I just want to say, Mr. Christian, we're 4 rules into this, and this feels a little vague. And the first 3 all seem to be about sex.
Number 5. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Number 6. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Number 7. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Number 8. Balance personal rights with social duties. Number 9. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. And number 10. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. And on the large flat stone on top were 4 ancient languages in Sanskrit, Classical Greek, Egyptian hieroglyphic, and Babylonian cuneiform, which all read, Let these be guidestones to an age of reason. Now, a few feet to the west of this monument, an additional granite ledger was set level with the ground. This tablet identifies the structure and the languages used on it. It lists various facts about the size, weight, and astronomical features of the stones, the date it was installed, and the sponsors of the project. It also speaks of a time capsule buried under the tablet, but spaces on the stone reserved for filling in the dates on which the capsule was buried and is to be opened have not been inscribed. So it's uncertain if the time capsule was actually put in place. And even more strange is R.C.'s Christian's name as the author, under which is misspelled the word, a pseudonym. Now, the monument also has some astronomically aligned features that have caused some to call it the America's Stonehenge. It has a channel through the stone which indicates celestial North Pole. A horizontal slot indicates annual travel of the sun, allowing to determine the solstices, and a small hole on the center pillar where a sunbeam marks noontime throughout the year. So just who was this R.C. Christian? Just some rich eccentric who thought the world was getting a little overcrowded? Or seeing as how some people have called the monument the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist, perhaps he was a sinister Satanist, a witch or warlock. But for those who are more familiar with the occult, secret societies, and the like, one can't help but to recognize the pseudonym and see the initials of R.C. followed by the name Christian, and immediately recognize the works as none other than one of the most secretive fraternal orders of all time, the Rosicrucians. Have you heard of the Rosicrucians?
I have.
Okay. The letters of R.C. were commonly used by the fraternal order and stood for Rosy Cross, their symbol and insignia, and Christian was the first name of their supposed mythical founder, Christian Rosenkreutz. Okay, so what is Rosicrucianism? And why are they creating what appears to be a pagan monument in the middle of Georgia? Rosicrucianism is a spiritual and cultural movement which arose in Europe in the early 17th century after the publication of several secret texts which purported to announce the existence of a hitherto unknown esoteric order to the world and made its knowledge attractive to many seeking enlightenment. The mysterious doctrines of the order is built on esoteric truths of the ancient past, which, concealed from the average man, provide insight into nature, the physical universe, and the spiritual realm. The manifestos do not elaborate extensively on the matter, but clearly combine references to Kabbalah, Hermeticism, alchemy, and mystical Christianity. The Rosicrucian manifestos heralded a universal reformation of mankind through a science allegedly kept secret for decades until the intellectual climate might receive it. Might that time be now? Now, nobody really knows who started the Rosicrucian order, but there have been some guesses. Some say it was a group of highly intellectualized beings in 17th century Elizabethan Europe. The likes of Francis Bacon has been nominated. Even the Comte de Saint-Germain, who we spoke about on a prior tale of high strangeness.
Bryce, I did research last week, and Comte de Saint-Germain came up in the Mount Shasta stuff.
Is that right?
He appeared on Mount Shasta to a man named Guy Ballard, who started the I Am movement.
Oh, my God.
The Ascended Masters, that's what he claimed. And further research showed that some people think Francis Bacon and Comte de Saint-Germain are one and the same.
And that they wrote the entire works of Shakespeare.
That's
now,
true.
do you know about I Am?
Yes.
Hebrews 3:14.
Oh, yes.
When Moses asked God who he could tell the Israelites was giving him all this information,
It's
the burning bush.
I
The
am.
Lord responded, "You may tell him I am that I am."
Yeah.
In other words, never mind who I am.
I think, therefore, I am.
Now, is this the
am's what I am.
That's where my mind went with that. I was like, so
I am what I am.
The Popeye
It goes
defense.
Popeye. Is this the secretive group that Mr. R.C. Christian was talking about when he said, "Our group feels by having our identity remain secret, it will not distract from the monument and its meaning. The message to be inscribed on the stones is to all mankind and is non-sectarian, nor nationalistic, nor in any sense political. The stones must speak for themselves to all who take note and should appeal to believers and non-believers wherever and at all times," he continued. So just who was this man who walked into Georgia's small town of Elberton, nicknamed the granite capital of the world, is not as important as the message itself. Now, it's strange. They found some digging, some old paperwork has come up, and there's some really interesting stuff to be revealed, and I think they might have a clue as to who the guy was representing.
Robert C. Christian.
Yeah, well, it was just a pseudonym, but I think they have an idea of who the guy might have been representing this group. But nonetheless, anybody who, knows their stuff, I mean, you can pretty much claim that this was a Rosicrucian monument.
Is this your way of saying that you figured this out?
No, not at all. On one of the papers they found that he wrote to the banker, "To whoever comes upon this printing, contained herein are keys that have been awaited to be placed here in proper sequencing
codes.
and in proper order to announce the return and activation of those events of prophecy that signal these events. Those who have guided this mystery and who have guarded the evolution of the human species itself are returning. It has begun." And so that's it. That's the story of the Georgia Guidestones. Now, they've been a pretty controversial piece, and they've gone through some of their some rather inornate graffitiing, or what do you call that when you mark up a
Tagging?
Yeah, but there's a more maleficent word for it.
Maleficent? Is that the
malignant?
Vandalism?
Vandalism. Thank you.
Oh.
They
That's what you were
vandalized.
looking for?
They.
I think you need to find the word that you were looking for when you use
I
maleficent.
like maleficent. But
Malevolent?
people have been vandalizing this property for some time. They're right, like death to the New World Order, or fuck globalism or whatever. But so it's caused a lot of controversy.
Listen, the first mistake was building this in Georgia. I'm just gonna say.
Well, he did that because this was the granite capital of the world, and
Sure.
and it was going to be the most. To transport that amount of granite would have been just astronomical.
But it was also. Is it in Athens?
No, it's in a place called Elberton, about 70 miles,
said
I
that.
think, east of Athens, and it's a rather strange monument. I mean, it's hard to get the perspective of it, but it's rather high.
Well, we like to ask our guests.
Yeah.
Seth Morris, what the hell is that?
What is it?
Yeah, what's up? What's your take on this?
I think it's some eccentric weirdos who have this this sort of agenda. I don't think there's probably much real behind it, but I think the people that made it believed in it.
Yeah,
I don't see what their point that. I think that it probably is what it claims to be, which is their idea of a guideline. I don't. Nothing you said makes me think that it's some ulterior motive of roping people in. I don't
know. No, yeah, I think you're right on. I think, listen, this is there are modern Rosicrucian fraternities that still exist, and they are a secretive order. They don't let their alumni be known. And I do think this was a group of Atlantan Rosicrucians who wanted to create this monument. Like I said, this was the height of the Cold War.
Atlantean or Atlanta, Georgia?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
The state of Atlanta. I know. Lost Atlantean.
This is turning out. I just got to say, this is turning out to be New Age November, and we might have to claim it because between Mount Shasta and this story, we're getting into some New Age shit.
Well, they call these the New Age commandments, Right. But this is the whole point of the Rosicrucian movement in the 17th century was to give knowledge back to the people. Not a lot of people were illiterate, and these Rosicrucianists really felt
were illiterate.
Were illiterate, and they felt that knowledge was being hoarded by the church and the Pope. And
you said we're illiterate.
I heard that too. Were you saying we're illiterate or we're literate?
Not a lot of people were literate.
It was one of those
that's what I meant.
double negative situations.
Okay.
You said not a lot of people were illiterate.
Oh,
a lot of people were illiterate.
No,
okay.
A lot of people were illiterate.
Listen,
the people know what he means.
Oh my god!
A lot of people are jumping on us for. We're getting emails now about
I love emails.
Our misuse
There's
of
a lot
words.
of made up words on this show.
I'm just I'm policing our language.
A lot of people had a problem with the first guideline was to maintain a population under 500 million, and so many people took that as in little. What do you want us to wipe out 6.5 billion? So they thought that was like a pro-abortion. Pro-child control,
Well, that's also the whole fear of the New World Order stuff is that that the Illuminati are gonna create a plague that wipes out more than half the population. That's why the FEMA camps are all waiting to put us all into plastic coffins.
It can get very conspiratorial.
It goes against the idea of a lot of Christian faith that, God said, go forth and be fruitful.
Right.
But I wonder if there's also some deep Bible number of that this is how many people are supposed to be.
Wonder.
Well, when asked about it, the guy said, this is just something I've been meditating on for the last 20 years, and I felt like this would be a good number. One of the granite workers said this guy must be a botanist or something, because when describing the local flora and fauna, he would use, botanical terms of trees and bushes and stuff like that. So I think this guy was really in tune with nature. I mean, the line is
doesn't sound
leave
like
room
he has
for nature.
A family. I'm gonna say not someone who's married with.
How much
kids.
did it cost to make that? Do you know?
Well, yeah. So an original quote, which he worked out by other granite workers, should have been somewhere around 40,000. But like I said in the story, they charged him almost 3 times just because it was. They don't do
just because he's weird.
Well, yeah,
there's a weird.
Still, that's not even that much money.
They don't do personal monumenting work. So, but the whole thing ended up being around $250,000. He never got to finish his capstone, which would have looked like a pyramid on the top. And he also he had plans for enclosing it in a circular granite stones, much like Stonehenge. So he didn't ever get to finish his work.
What happened to him?
I thought you were going to say it would cost $30 million or something. No, so it could have been just one guy. I was thinking it was a conglomerate of people. It could have just been one eccentric guy.
He did say, I represent a group of like-minded individuals.
Yeah, so. I think he was probably, to me, just me shooting the moon here. What are we talking about? I'm just sounds to me like a rich, eccentric, local, maybe part of a local Rosicrucian fraternity or New Age fraternity in Georgia, or maybe just all by himself, who's got a lot of money from family member or a rich grandma who died, and he's I'm a lone man, I'm lonely, here's what I think we should do.
The commandments have a real kind of libertarian vibe to them as well. The whole limit bureaucratic government, just throwing that one in there.
Some people thought it was Ted Turner who had put these who had funded the project.
Ted Turner's
that would be great.
I have better things
to do.
I know. This reminds me of you see people driving around with trucks like weird personal. I mean, this is a specific example. Lately, I saw somebody. Not as friendly messaging, but was really putting some like driving around a truck with like some real particular biblical language on there.
Oh, right.
Just reminding people that white people are the best.
Oh.
And it's like
okay.
they drive around. He was driving around North Hollywood with that on his car, and I was like, give that man $250,000. He might put
See
this
what he'll
stuff
build.
on
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly. This guy's fortunately seems a little bit more enlightened.
Yeah. Well, I would be
he's like a
remiss not
hippie
to-
libertarian.
He's like
Yeah.
a hippie libertarian. Well, he's a
He's like into
Rosicrucian.
nature, but also
You're right.
like,
He's a Rosicrucian.
He's a Rosicrucian.
hates bureaucracy.
And they wrote the entire works of Shakespeare, so that's said to be something. But I would be remiss to not point out that on the top of this slab was another point of controversy, which looked like to some sort of sacrificial altar and some stain that still remains on top of there today. Even today, a lot of witches will come by and they'll do pagan rituals, and the plot of land was actually given back to the county of Elbert. He said this would be I don't want to keep the deed. I want to give this to the county of Elbert. It would be the best way for it to last in perpetuity.
This reminds me a lot of the Coral Castle, which has also been called the Stonehenge of America.
Yeah.
There's something about the South and just eccentric white men building stuff with big rocks and putting some cool ideas. There's a place called the Garden of Eden, actually, in Kansas, western Kansas. This guy built like a concrete kind of art installation. It was all about like the corporate man hunts the working man who hunts like the impoverished man who hunts the animals, who hunts the birds, who hunt, like he's building this like thing, and then he built like a little like pyramid and this whole rock garden, and he buried himself there, and you can actually look into his coffin and see him.
wild.
There's something about like
Well, if history has shown us
artists
anything,
and granite and rock and concrete, and just
nothing
lonely
lasts
men who
more
want
than stone.
That's true.
And the pyramids and Stonehenge and other sites around the globe. They last longer than the written word. They leave a trail, and probably this group was like, let's leave something behind that'll last for longer than us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you say group, I think it's one guy.
I wonder
really
if they'll leave that there if the county owns it
They've
now.
come to claim it as part of their own now. They don't mind people the weirdness attracted to it. They just don't
Probably
want it.
bringing
They
some
don't want it
tourism bucks.
vandalized. It has cameras now pointed on it 24/7. So
I'd like to see that.
They
That
look
sounds
to
cool.
protect it and stuff like
It's
that.
probably
And,
bringing in a little change.
yeah, people from all over the world come to see these Georgia Guidestones.
My
And
takeaway from this is we should build a monument out of
Yeah.
stone
Oh,
to
we're gonna-
Bigfoot.
we're gonna
Seth,
build a monument.
if
Yeah,
you
I
were
think
gonna
that's
build
the
a
final
monument-
goal of the show.
Yeah.
Seth, if you were going to build a monument out of stone, like if your wife and child were like, just whatever you want to do, we're as long as you're healthy and happy, Seth.
Yeah.
Like if your family's like,
Yeah.
great, as long no one's like putting you in the hospital is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What would you?
What am I going to build a
Yeah,
stone
what would your
monument about?
big artistic message of a monument be?
Oh, I'm wearing a Willie Nelson shirt. It would probably be like a giant Willie Nelson statue. It's like
that.
What would Willie do?
That's great. And him wearing a T-shirt of you.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There you go.
That'd be dope.
I love it.
that.
That's great. Well, thanks so much. That's
Yeah.
This is awesome. Thank you
That's
so much. I had a great
Seth,
time.
thanks so much for being on the show. I've been thinking now we're in year 3. I always go plugs, and that's not fun for a Bigfoot podcast to just say what do you have anything to plug. So I would like now to say, instead of anything to plug, I'd like to say, like Bigfoot, Seth, where in the woods can you be found?
Oh, I like that. You can hear me now on the current season of Big Mouth. I almost said
good.
Bigfoot.
That's what we want.
And that's probably the safest
Awesome.
thing right
Are
now.
you on?
I'm on Instagram, and
We'll
I
tag you on
use
all
it
that
less
stuff.
and less,
Okay.
but Twitter
Well-
I find too toxic. So
I'm
Instagram.
getting out of there
Yeah.
more and more. But we'll tag you in all this
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you.
Bryce, Expedition Bigfoot.
Yeah, Expedition Bigfoot Travel Channel. Watch it. Let me know what you think. Comment here.
Great. And Riley.
November 8th at the
We're past that point,
forget
baby.
it then. All right. Well,
Hey,
hope
time
you-
works in strange ways.
it was great seeing you at the show.
What was does Spindrift have a website?
Probably.
Okay, great. You find it, you assholes. Check out the latest season of Robot Chicken. I wrote on that. And, of course, you can usually find me the first Sunday of every month at UCB Franklin at Gravid Water. So check that out. Once again, I want to thank our guest, Seth Morris. Until next week, I remain Michael McMillan for Bryce Johnson and Riley Bray. And until next time, good night.
Go get regressed.
Awesome. That was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Sun Eaters, courtesy of Lotus Pool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.